when you're a teenager, your emotions are so intense. And she was like, you have to close all of your curtains, close all of the lights, and sit downstairs in the dark and get over it. Again, back to when I was in consulting, if I looked at other people who made less than me, then I would feel good. But then if I looked at other people, let's say in investment banking, who made more than me, or people at higher tier consulting firms who made more than me, I'd be like, oh, you know, I'm making so little. I've had brands come to me and be like, I'll give you $150. And I've had brands come to me and be like, I'll give you $1,000. I get this feeling where it's like, oh, again, you're anxious again? Like, why can't you just get over it? It kind of opened my eyes to like, oh, this is actually not so normal, like that I'm so hard on myself. You're not gonna wake up one day and cure your anxiety. You're not gonna wake up one day and never be anxious again. You're gonna have to work on it every day and it will come back. Welcome back to my channel. Welcome to another Sunday chat video. This is number 5, I think. Crazy. I feel like I'm just gonna say that every week, like, oh my god, it's number whatever. It's crazy. And I think this is Vlogmas day 6. So if you're tuned into Vlogmas, I hope you're enjoying it. Hope you're enjoying this Sunday chat series, and I hope you're gonna enjoy this video. So I'm all cozy on my couch. We've got a cup of, what is this? This is like a chocolate spice tea. It's really nice. It's decaf. It's like an herbal tea. I'm trying to drink more herbal tea because the caffeine just like makes me crazy. So I'm all cozy on the couch. It's actually Friday afternoon as I'm filming this, and I'm so excited to just cruise into the weekend. It's been a crazy week, and we're gonna talk about it in a second in the life updates, but as usual, I guess, as our new tradition is on the Sunday chats, let me know when you're currently watching, even if it's the same as last week, even if it's like Monday morning, making my coffee for work. I wanna know. I love hearing what day of the week it is, what time of day, and what you're doing while you're watching any video, but I guess most specifically these ones. It just feels like we're hanging out, and I love knowing what you're up to. So please let me know in the comments. And I also want to say hello if you're new. This is the first video of mine that you're watching. My name is Zoey. I live in Montreal. I'm 26, and this is my little Sunday chat series. We've been at it for 5 weeks now, and my goal is just to keep you guys company during these months as things get darker up here in the Northern Hemisphere, as we move towards the holidays, to just have a cozy little hangout between friends. And it's been so fun. It's been going so well. I can't wait to continue doing these. And yeah, I think we're gonna keep them going. I always say the same thing every single week, but that's what's up. So yeah, if you're new, please subscribe. Please give this video a thumbs up. And thank you so much for your support, whether it's brand new, whether it's recurring, been a year, been 2 years, however long it's been. I really appreciate you, and I love you all so much. It's gonna be a fantastic video. I've got a list of things to talk about, and let's just jump right in, starting with a little life update. So it feels kind of funny doing a life update because you are gonna see the vlogs from this past week actually after this one. So there's gonna be one that comes out tomorrow on Monday, and there's gonna be another one, and you know, it's Vlogmas, so we're super connected. So I feel like there's kind of the positive life updates, and then it's not negative, like it just isn't positive, I guess you could say. So let's start with the positive. You will see this in a vlog, but I've just been getting really into the holiday spirit, and last night was such a beautiful night. JS, my boyfriend, took me out on this little surprise date, and he had bought tickets to this show. It was a Christmas show called Décembre. It's like all in French, and then more specifically Quebecois Christmas songs, and there's like a beautiful set, singing, dancing. There was these little kids, they were so cute. The costumes, like it was a show, and it was so much fun. So that's going to be, I mean, I couldn't take videos during the play or the show obviously, but that whole night out is going to be in a vlog that you guys will see. But that just put me in the holiday mood. I went downtown to meet up with him, and I was listening to the Ella Fitzgerald and Louis Armstrong Christmas album. If you want to get, if you you know, like Christmas music and you like all that, if you want to get into the holiday mood, you need to listen to that album. It is so good, old-timey kind of jazz, scratchy vibes. Oh my gosh, I was walking through downtown and I was in the metro and I was the main character in a Christmas movie. Like, I was feeling so good and happy. So I want you guys all to have that feeling. Check out that album. I also saw my dad and my sister and my mom last week. I went to Ottawa for like not even 24 hours and I saw all of them, which just got me so excited to go back home at the end of the month and just get ready for Christmas. I'm planning my kind of time off from my contracts and stuff. I need to like send out my email saying, you know, from this date to this date, I'm gonna be unavailable. And I'm so excited to unwind because things have just been crazy. Like, my first Sunday chat video, I sat down and I was like, things have been crazy. It's been so busy, but I feel so good. And I guess that kind of moves into the not positive life update, is that it is starting to have a little bit of a toll on me. Up until now, I think I was managing having 4 jobs pretty well. It was busy, but like I said at the time, like, it felt really good. It felt go, 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 but it felt exciting and nice. And now the workloads have increased a little bit, which is kind of pushing me like towards the line of like, okay, this really isn't sustainable. And I thought that things were going to wrap up last week. Kind of realized that they didn't. There was like more feedback, there was more content that people wanted to add for the big project I'm working on with my copywriting. And it just kind of hit me. And that overwhelm for me can really quickly turn into anxiety. As much as I try not to let it, as much as I try to like fight it, if you will. Yeah, I was really, really anxious last week. Like, I had a couple days where it was just like my whole body felt so tense and just felt that so anxious. And there was one night where I was like crying, like it was just bad. And there's a part of me that feels embarrassed to say this on camera, but I kind of like to challenge myself when I have those feelings of like, oh no, don't talk about this, to talk about it, because one, I think it helps fight any stigma that I feel and that maybe you feel as well towards your feelings. And it also is just like, if I'm feeling it, there's someone else out there who's feeling it. And so that makes it, for me, important to talk about. So the reason I feel embarrassed about it is because I get this feeling where it's like, oh, again, you're anxious again. Like, why can't you just get over it? And for people who don't deal with anxiety, like let's say my dad is compassionate and he's loving and he's a wonderful man, but he does not deal with anxiety. I don't even know if he knows what it feels like to feel anxious. And so when I get that way, he's like, oh, just relax, Zoey, just relax, which I know he means well by it, but too much of that message of like, oh, just relax can lead to that feeling of embarrassment, because you're like, why can't I just relax? When anxiety is beyond mental, it has the physical elements as well, right? That tight chest, I feel the tightness in my arms, like we all feel it differently. But I think if you know anxiety, you know that tingle, the physical element of it as well. And so, yeah, I was kind of just like, oh, Zoey, like, why are we here again? You know better. You know, you got to journal, you know, you got to work out, you know, you got to take care of yourself. And here you are again, which just kind of sucks. And it's also just like, why am I being so hard on myself? Like, something that my therapist told me is like, you're not gonna wake up one day and cure your anxiety. You're not gonna wake up one day and never be anxious again. You're gonna have to work on it every day and it will come back. Same with depression, like it will come back at certain points. The goal is not to abolish it completely, but to minimize it when it happens, make it less intense and less brutal, and then also space out the time between those feelings of anxiety and depression. And so I need to remember that, because that kind of takes the pressure off of like, I need to vanquish my anxiety, I gotta destroy it. Like, it's probably not gonna happen. So that's my little life update for you guys. How are you feeling? Let me know in the comments. And that brings me to the next thing I want to talk about, which is being so hard on yourself. Ooh. So we could go on and on about this, and I'll make it quick because we've got other great things to talk about today. But yesterday, as I'm filming this, I uploaded my monthly money video. I first of all want to say thank you for all of the love on that video. It makes me so happy to finally be in such a positive place as it comes to money, and seeing you guys also recognize kind of the journey that I've been on has been really rewarding. And so I want to thank you for being on this journey with me and commenting on it and just giving me your advice over the years and your feedback and also just your support, because knowing that I have a community on the internet, that we have this community that holds each other accountable, encourages each other, learns from each other, motivates me every single day to be better with my finances, which I think has a positive impact on life overall. So thank you for that. That's really emotional, but love you guys for real, like from the bottom of my heart. I mean everything I just said. And some of the comments were saying, because I was like, oh, I kind of failed at my cash envelopes this month. And there were some of the comments, and I've seen these comments before, being like, Zoey, you're so hard on yourself. And I'm like, I know it's true, but I also just like don't know how to not be so hard on myself. And I also kind of thought it was normal. I thought that everyone was like this, being hard on themselves. And on my drive to Ottawa last week, I listened to EmRata's new podcast, and she did an episode with Stephanie Danler, who is an author who wrote a book that I read and really, really loved called Sweetbitter. It's an amazing book. That episode was so good. And in that podcast episode, they were talking about how Stephanie is so hard on herself. And EmRata, Emily, was like, they're like good friends. And Emily was like, I just want to send you to like rehab in Hawaii or something so that you can stop being so hard on yourself. And it was like, she was saying, not substance abuse rehab, but like mental health rehab. And I was like, that exists. Like you can go to rehab for being hard on yourself. And like, it kind of opened my eyes to like, oh, this is actually not so normal. Like that I'm so hard on myself. And I don't think I'm gonna go to rehab in Hawaii anytime soon, although it does sound very pleasant. It just made me kind of realize like, okay, this is something that I do need to work on. And I mean, with the new year coming up, maybe that's gonna be one of my New Year's resolutions. I don't know. If any of you have tips on not being so hard on yourself, if you've kind of gone through that journey, if you feel like you are very hard on yourself, let me know, because I think we can learn from each other. And yeah, I mean, as I go down that path, I feel like that's definitely something that we can keep talking about, keep documenting, but it doesn't really pay off to be so hard on yourself. It just kind of sucks. So there you go. Okay, now for the twist, for the surprise, for, I try to do it in every video. I don't have a special guest today, and I don't have a recipe for you guys. I'm so sorry. But I did get your input for what we should talk about in this video. So we have a couple of topics that were requested by you guys that we will talk about. Okay, the first thing that was requested that I talk about, this actually came from a comment on the monthly money video, and I was like, wow, this is such a good question. So it was from Katrina. I hope I said your name correctly. I'm gonna put it up on the screen. She said, hi Zoey, amazing video as always. I would like to know more about your thoughts and feelings regarding the amount of money that influencers get for brand deals. I do think that it's a well-deserved income. However, the amount seems super inflated. Like an influencer can get $5,000 for talking about a brand for 1 minute on a video, whereas someone like me working at corporate gets half of that per month, working 40+ hours per week. I know the market is like that, but I would like to know your insights as someone who has had both regular job income and influencer income. Thank you. So I thought that was such a good question, and I definitely had to think about it for a little while, and it brought up all different kinds of feelings for me. So for anyone who might be new, I worked corporate for pretty much 3 years. I worked as a consultant. So consulting in general is a higher paying field. My starting salary out of university was 65,000 Canadian, which to me was very good. It's more than I make now, like doing contracts and I don't even consider myself an influencer. Like I feel like I'm a YouTuber, but whatever, you guys get it. So I'm making less money now than I did in corporate. However, I know that with YouTube, with social media, the income opportunities are basically endless and the growth can be very, very quick. So yes, I do have both sort of So I do have experience with both. I do have a lens and an insight into both, and let's talk about it. First of all, for Katrina, I just want to say thank you for how you phrased that, because I feel like on YouTube and just like influencers in general get a lot of flack for like, oh my God, they do nothing and they get so much money. It's so unfair, blah, blah, blah. And I think sometimes that can be true, but for the most part, it's not true. There is so much work that goes into making a YouTube video, even doing an Instagram post. There's so much behind the scenes that doesn't get seen. And I think for a lot of people, part of being on social media is to create a facade of like a beautiful and seamless and easy life. And so it's hard to believe that behind that kind of facade is actual challenges and hard work and nights spent at the computer and all of that. So I think that's part of it too, is that in general, there's a lot of work that doesn't get seen. Regarding how much influencers get paid, it's so varied. Like, it is so varied. $5,000 to me sounds like a lot. Like, I don't get $5,000 for a 1-minute video. Not even close. However, there are YouTubers out there who get $20,000 for a 1-minute video, right? It is so varied. I read somewhere though, she mentioned that she feels like the numbers are inflated, and there actually was some research done that the numbers were really inflated. If you went back a couple of years, influencers were making so much money. Like, I'm gonna butcher these numbers, okay, so please don't quote me. I don't remember where I read this, but it was a legit article, just saying how it went from like an influencer getting $25,000 for a video to now down to like $10,000, right? So that's more than a half cut. I think part of that came from brands being really, really excited about social media and excited about YouTube, and then that sort of slowing down. It could also have to do with the economy. I really don't know. For me, my income from videos has gone up and up as my channel grows. That's been my experience. But I don't know where that caps out. I don't know what the maximum is. I only kind of know with what I'm working with now. And even then, it varies by brand. I've had brands come to me and be like, I'll give you $150. And I've had brands come to me and be like, I'll give you $1,000. It varies so much. Anyways, that's that on the inflation. I guess it's important to talk about why the numbers can be so high. And influence, like a sponsored video is marketing, right? Influencer marketing is a sphere of marketing that can go hand in hand with digital marketing, things like ads, physical marketing, things like papers and flyers, things like billboards. So let's take an example of Good Food, okay? This is like a meal kit delivery company, similar to HelloFresh. They have done influencer partnerships. So you might see a sponsored video on YouTube, you might see a sponsored post on Instagram. They also do physical marketing. So I've gotten like flyers and coupons in the mail for Good Food. I've also seen ads on TV, I've seen ads on YouTube, and I've seen billboards for Good Food. Like, they literally touch all the different spheres of marketing. Let's take the billboard example because I think we can all relate to that. The billboard didn't have to do anything, right? Good Food made the ad, Good Food made the print, Good Food probably maybe printed it out, and the billboard just sits there and is like, here you go, right? The billboard didn't have to do anything, but they probably spent millions of dollars to rent that billboard. An ad inside of a YouTuber's video is kind of like renting a billboard, but it's within their video. So they're like paying rent to you to talk about on your platform with however hundreds, thousands, millions of views, they're paying you rent to talk about their product. And so those billboards are unfathomably expensive. Social media is actually a much cheaper alternative for them in terms of marketing, and it's also proven to be much more effective. So I think that can give a little bit of perspective to why these numbers seem so high sometimes. Marketing dollars in corporations in general can be very high. So it might seem irrelevant to talk about a billboard compared to a YouTube video, but we need to think of these influencer ads, and brands need to think of it this way too. You're not paying for the 1-minute clip that influencer did. You're paying for all of the work behind the scenes over all of the years of building their platform to 20,000, 30,000, 10,000, a million, whatever. You're paying for all of the time it took for them to get their platform to a certain size so that when they display your product, they've got eyeballs on the video. So that's why too, it goes up so much, right? Like Jake Paul, who's got however many million subscribers, could do the exact same ad as me, and he's gonna get way more money than I do, right? So those are kind of my practical thoughts on influencer marketing and influencer getting paid and all of that. I know firsthand how much work it is to build a channel. For me, it's been you know, 3 years of working on my channel every single day. So I'm proud when a brand wants to work with me and wants to pay me to talk about it with you guys. But I can see how from a person working a corporate job, let's say 9 to 5 perspective, you're like, oh my gosh, you did 1 minute of work. It looks like you did 1 minute of work and you got paid what I make in a month. Like that could feel really, really frustrating. Something that I've had to learn over the years is about salary comparison. And this doesn't just apply to like influencer stuff. It doesn't just apply to corporate. It applies, I think, to everything. So starting out my career in consulting, I felt like I was really well placed in like a well-earning field. And there were some times where I would look at people with the same degree as me, who went to the same school as me, who were making significantly less than me and working just as hard in terms of number of hours, effort that you're putting in, etc. Salaries are just so varied all across the board, across different industries, across different jobs. So I think it can be really toxic to be comparing our salaries to other people. Again, back to when I was in consulting, if I looked at other people who made less than me, then I would feel good. But then if I looked at other people, let's say in investment banking who made more than me, or people at higher tier consulting firms who made more than me, I'd be like, oh, you know, I'm making so little. And so it's so dangerous to go into that comparison zone. Even if you look within consulting, I remember I was on a project where I was working really, really late most nights of the week. And I'm getting paid the same thing as my colleague who's on this more chill project working 9 to 5 every day. And so it's just so tricky with salary comparison. And I'm not saying this to put down the person who asked this question or anything like that. Rather, I'm just saying it to maybe give you some peace, I guess, of like, it's so tricky to look at, you did this, you got paid that much, I did this, I got paid that much. It can lead us down a really negative path, but I've certainly been there. I know how it feels. And I hope pulling back the curtain on influencer payments a little bit was helpful. Switching gears completely, I also posted on Instagram and got so many great ideas for topics to talk about. There are 2 that I've selected for this video. The first is living alone. And this question was from Libby. She says, living alone, tips, advice, and struggles. I really like living alone. I really, really love it. I remember the first day that I moved into this apartment. Actually, the first night my dad and my sister were here. But I remember the second night where I was alone. I actually cried like all night long. Could also have been because I just got back from Australia and I was super jet lagged and super confused about where I was. But I really quickly learned to love being alone. The first thing that I had to learn was there is no more room for being scared. So I am someone who's extremely scared of the dark. I'm terrified of ghosts. I'm terrified of anything paranormal. Like, don't even talk to me about it. I get so scared. And when I lived with Camilla, she's gonna watch this video and laugh because I would leave lights on in the middle of the night so that if I had to wake up and pee in the night, it wasn't pitch black because I'd be too scared. Like too scared. Sometimes I would run. So we had a long hallway and the bathroom was in the middle of the hallway and my bedroom was at the other end. So it was like 2 seconds, but I was too scared to walk through that hallway. So I would sprint to the bathroom and I would sprint home. Like I was so home to my room. I was so scared. I would sometimes even make Camilla like turn on the light and like go look, check things out with me. If I heard a noise, like I was terrified. But when you live alone, you can't afford to be terrified because there's no one. There is no one. So you can either cower in your bed or you can deal with it. And so one night I remember being on the phone with my friend and I was like, oh my God, I heard a noise. And she was like, Zoey, you got to get over this right now. And she actually told me, so she was studying psychology and she was like, trauma, like to get over your trauma, it's like slow exposure. And so she was like, what you actually have to do if you want to get over this is turn off all of the lights in your house. Because I used to leave my bathroom light on. My bathroom's downstairs and my bed is upstairs in the loft. I would leave my bathroom light on because I was too afraid. And she was like, you have to close all of your curtains, close all of the lights, and sit downstairs in the dark and get over it. And I was like, that sounds horrible. I'm just gonna decide that I'm over it. And I know that's not always how it works, but I pretty much just made a decision to not let my mind go there and not get scared. My fear was of ghosts. I know for some people, they fear for their physical safety, which is just a really sad part of being a woman that we deal with. Again, I do not let my mind go there. I also know that I always have people on speed dial. I have neighbors that I can trust, and I hate thinking about it. Like, even thinking about it right now, I'm like, ugh. I think the best part about living alone and why I love it so much is you get to decorate as you like. There's no one telling you what color, oh, I don't want those pink bed sheets. Oh, I don't want the wall to be pink. You can paint your wall pink if your landlord's okay with it. So make your space as cozy and as you can. For me, I really took advantage of this to decorate in a way that was kind of eclectic and that was very me, because I know one day down the line, I'm hopefully gonna live with a partner and with a family, and I'm not gonna be able to decorate exactly as I want. I'm gonna have to compromise, and things might be a little bit more bland. So I really did everything as Zoey as I could. I've got a million plants and I've got books everywhere, and it makes me feel at home. And I love that so much. So I think you can really, really get creative. Go to the thrift shop, look on Facebook Marketplace, like find things to make the place really feel like yours, so you can fall in love and feel as comfortable as possible living at home alone. If you feel like you get lonely while living alone, which is so normal, like if I don't see anyone for like 2 or 3 days, I'll get so lonely. I think that's where just keeping up with your friends, inviting people over, going out, like going out to a workout class, going out to see a friend, going out to a coffee shop, even taking yourself out for dinner can be really, really helpful to make sure that you're also getting out of the house while living alone so that you're not alone too much. I think it's a lot about finding that kind of healthy balance. I guess another struggle of living alone is the finances. So you don't need a huge apartment. Like if I could go back, I would have chosen probably a smaller apartment. But make sure that you consider your finances, because you're paying for everything. So consider the finances, go as small as you can. That would be my recommendation. And have fun, because that living alone period might not last forever. So enjoy it. Okay, the last thing we're gonna talk about today comes from Andrea. I hope I said that right. She says, maintaining friendships and the difference between teen and adult friendships. We talked about this a little bit a few weeks ago, where I said that I was struggling to maintain friendships, and you guys came in the comments with so much good advice. And I think the number one takeaway that I got from that is like how a phone call can go such a long way. And Camilla and I hadn't seen each other, so we see each other like all the time, but this week we've both been so busy, and we both had this feeling of like, oh my god, I'm so busy, I want to see this I want to see the other person, but life is in the way. And we got on the phone and we chatted for 20 minutes, and it was just so nice, and it re-establishes that connection. And I think just a phone call can go such a long way. And I know maybe people don't like talking on the phone that much, but it's so good. Like, I don't know. I like the phone better than FaceTime sometimes, because on the phone you can walk around and do other stuff. And I think someone even commented that, like, FaceTime your friend and then start cleaning your place. Like, it's perfect. You can kind of get a 2-in-1 if you feel like you're too busy, because that to me is the difference between teen and adult friendships growing up. Is like, teen friendships, you a lot of the times have school in common, or you have dance class in common, rock climbing in common, like you're friends from something, and so your hangout time is at that place, and then maybe you see each other after school, whatever, because you also don't have, like, maybe you don't have a job, maybe you don't have as many responsibilities that you need to get home to, so it's easier to spend time together. When you grow up and you're an adult, you have less time together, and you also might have less things in common. So I think it's important to put in that effort to follow up with your friends, check in on them, and a phone call can go such a long way. Another tip that I have is establishing time boundaries, because something that I do is I'm like, oh my god, I haven't seen this person in so long, I haven't talked to them in so long, I need to reserve a 2-hour phone call, because otherwise we're not gonna have enough time. But the reality is that person probably doesn't have 2 hours either, and if you keep putting off your 2-hour phone call, you're just gonna get more and more overwhelmed at the thought of catching up with them, when it's actually really not a big deal to text someone and say, hey, I've got 20 minutes, you wanna catch up for 20 minutes? It's perfect. If you live in the same city as your friends, grabbing lunch or just grabbing a quick coffee and knowing that there's an end time, it sounds mean, but it's not meant to be mean. Knowing that there's an end time, like knowing, okay, I've got to get back to work at this time, you get to see your friend for an hour. It feels so good. You just reconnect, you've seen that person, you've done something fun, but it hasn't taken your whole afternoon, which means it doesn't feel like such a big deal, which means you can do it more frequently. Does that make sense? I also just think the depth of things that you talk about and that you have in common changes as you get older. And it's funny because I remember as friends, like teen friendships, when you're a teenager, your emotions are so intense. And so you feel like your friendships are so intense when really it was like, what were we even talking about? Like, you know what I mean? As you get older and your life can become a little more bland and routine, the main things you end up talking about are like your job and maybe your dog and your home. But you also have more life experience, and I find your friendships actually can become deeper if you want them to be, because you've just got this life behind you that you've lived and you can talk about more meaningful things. So I think that friendships are like intense kind of in different ways. And yeah, when you're a teenager, your friendships are just like so intense. You're like, I would die for you. Like very kind of Euphoria. I feel like Euphoria did a really good job of capturing that in the show. But I think too, as you get older, you have to work a little bit harder to get that depth out of people. But once you do get it, it's amazing because you're older and so you can go deeper and have these stronger connections with people. The last thing I will say on adult friendships when it comes to making new friends is trying to find something in common, like an activity to do together, can be really good so that you're not just always like, as you're making a new friend, you don't want to just be like, so how was work? How's, you know, your dog? How's your boyfriend? Whatever. Getting that activity in common to share something to do together, I think can go a long way. And sometimes just checking in on your friends. I find my friend Mary is so good at this. She will always just send a quick text and be like, have a good week, I'm thinking of you, I love you. Like she's so sweet and she's so thoughtful. And so I always know that even if we don't see each other for a couple months, even if we don't even FaceTime for a month, like I know that she's there for me and I really appreciate how she does that. And that's actually something so admirable that I would like to get better at, is like checking in with my friends. Hey, how are you? I love you. I'm here for you if you ever need me. You know, that's it. So I don't know. I love that. Love you, Mary. Okay, you guys, my tea is almost empty and it's gone cold. I think that is a wrap on this video. It was a little bit shorter than usual, but I think it was a good one. We covered some pretty interesting topics, so let me know how you enjoyed it. Let me know if there's anything you want to talk about next week. I did get some other requests on Instagram that were really, really good. We got one for like post-holiday blues, which I so want to talk about, stuff about goal setting and New Year's, which those will be their own separate videos. I'm so excited for the New Year's content, you guys. Like I have some really good and exciting videos coming up that I can't wait to start filming and putting out for you all. But until then, I hope you enjoyed this video. Enjoy Vlogmas. We've got so many fun vlogs coming up and I hope you have a great week. I love you so much.